Here we go again. This week we're considering the third cornerstone of the Judeo-Christian culture, which has its roots in the first creation story. And this is the last cornerstone we're going to consider from this first creation story. The first cornerstone was creation. All of creation is good. Secondly, the second cornerstone is humanity. All humans are created in the image of God. And these two cornerstones create sort of the frame of reference for the third, which addresses the relationship of humanity created in the image of God with creation, which is all good. Now, on the surface, the answer is perfectly clear as we read the English translation of our Bible. Again, from Genesis 1:26, then God said, "Let us make man in our own image." That was what we talked about last week, after our likeness. And then it continues, "And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." Case closed. Man has dominion over the created order. But here's the rest of the story. The Hebrew word translated dominion, rada, does not mean to rule over. It doesn't mean to dominate. Rather, it's an interesting meaning. It means to represent for the sake of the other. To translate accurately, humankind is God's representative to care and provide for the created order. Let me say that again. Humankind is God's representative to care and provide for the created order. Wow. Does this change our relationship to the created order? Instead of domination, instead of ruling over creation, humanity cares and provides for the rest of creation. You see, this translation is consistent with the message that God saw creation and called it good. Human beings created in the image of God, and therefore human beings must represent God in the created world. Imagine with me around the campfire, in awe of creation, the stars, the vegetation, animal life, and hearing the elders say to the young, "Creation is given to us to protect, to care for, to provide the very best for. For this purpose, we have been created. God is dependent upon us to take care of God's created order." Wow. That's different than thinking, "Oh, we've got dominion and can do anything we want to do anytime we want to do it." George Gardner, a pastor in our area, First Church Winfield for a while, a friend of many of us, a very good friend of mine, traveled to Africa when he was in his 30s to spend a week with Albert Schweitzer. Albert Schweitzer was an esteemed leader in the global Christian community in the mid 20th century. He was the author of the book, The Quest for the Historic Jesus, which was profound in my own journey of faith. George told the story of being on an afternoon walk with Schweitzer. Schweitzer was leading the way on the path through the almost jungle vegetation where his compound was. And all of a sudden, Schweitzer stopped. And the group stopped. And no one knew why Schweitzer stopped until a spider was seen and made his way across the path. Schweitzer knew that the spider would be killed by some footstep of the group if they had continued walking. A dominating mindset would have continued on, disregarding the life of that insignificant spider. But a protecting, caring, and providing mindset stopped for the life of a spider. What an illustration of caring for, providing the very best for all of creation. Karen and I experienced this attitude in our incredible 8 years serving with the Indian communities in the Oklahoma Indian Missionary Conference. We experienced a value system that can best be described in my words as creation is cooperation. Humanity must consider ourselves as cooperating partners with creation rather than dominating creation and using creation for our benefit, disregarding what is best for the created order. As we listen closely to the statement of Indians, when they object to and protest certain plans for development, which is to the human benefit, but potentially could abuse the created order, you will hear the theme of radah, that Hebrew word. We are created to be the Great Spirit's representatives, to care for and provide the best for God's creation. You see, in protesting the pipeline that was going to go underneath the river, the Indians are representing the Great Spirit to care and provide for God's created order. This is the third cornerstone from the first story of creation. Humanity is responsible for the care and protection of all creation. As we have previously noted, the first story of creation was included by the scribes composing the first 5 books of the Hebrew library, not to just be politically correct by including the creation story of the northern kingdom. No, but to be certain that cornerstones of the early Judeo-Christian culture would be preserved. We have identified 3 obvious cornerstones carefully set in place in the Hebrew social order by the telling and retelling of the Campfire story of Elohim, the Creator God, that said all of creation is good. Humanity is created in our image, And humanity, it's your job to take care of the created order. That's why we have the first story of creation, and I would challenge you to think about these questions. First of all, what are the illustrations today of humankind assuming the right to dominate and rule over creation? Secondly, what are the illustrations today of humankind assuming the responsibility to care for and provide the very best for creation? And finally, what is your response to the meaning of the story that a significant reason for human existence is to care for the environment? We look forward to discussion on Sunday.